10.06 Writing Ethics. In the problem 1, it asks us, you find 2 well-written and well-documented family histories about someone in your family member on the internet. You want to include a large section of both histories in your genealogy you are writing. What should you do? So, the first thing is that you need to find who wrote these 2 well-documented family histories, because you can use quotations and cite your sources and give them the proper documentation, but you need to be very careful not to plagiarize at all. You can also, because it would be a family member, contact that person if they are still alive and ask them for a written permission to use their information in your genealogy writings. A lot of the times, family members, especially genealogists, are willing to share their information with anyone. And so it's very important to just remember to not plagiarize. Don't just use the information and think it's okay, but to document the sources as well as obtain, if possible, the proper release to use the information from the author. The second problem is you locate family stories and photographies pertaining to your ancestors from a local genealogical society. You want to include them on your website. The book contains the stories, was published in 1932 and did not have a copyright notice, or you do not know who provided the photographs or when they were taken. What should you do What should you do in regards to family stories, and what should you do in regards to the photographs? So, the first thing to remember is in 120 years from the day it was published, would have been 1932, so 120 years would be 2052 plus a year, 2053. You can use them because it then enters public domain without any problem. For right now, you need to look for the person who might have published this book. Do all your research to find who can use this book. And then you need to, if you can't find it, give credit to the person or the book in your documentation. You can use some of it under the fair use guidelines if you use portions of it, but remember not to plagiarize again and to give credit where credit is due. Number 3, what if a book mentioned in problem 2, so the book was published in 1932 and had a copyright notice? What factors altered your actions? If so, how? So now we know that this is copyrighted for sure. And so in 90 years from that day, so in 90 years from 1932, 1932. So in 2022, which is in only a couple more years, it enters public domain. And so you can wait a couple of years to use that information, or like I said earlier, you can give credit where credit is due. Problem 4. Your client is anxious and interested that you extended his ancestral lines by several generations with a set time frame. You want to satisfy your client, but research has been difficult for a few positive results. You are concerned that your client will not be pleased only with a short time left on the project. You locate information that may add 3 generations on one of the client's ancestral lines. You do not have the significant billing of number of billing hours left to properly evaluate the information to determine if it does not in fact relate to your client's family, nor you have time to verify the accuracy of the information. You are tempted to connect the generations to the client's database as if the links are proven. What will you do? So that's the first thing you should not do. You should not do the links there, because if they go back and find that they are not correct, that will hurt you as a genealogist. Your credibility will be damaged. The next thing you need to do is be upfront with your client. You can say to him or her, I found a lead. It's out of our agreement, but we can write another contract and continue, or we can leave it where I've currently got it. But right now, as it stands, I cannot continue working on your line according to the contract, and keep to the contract that we have written according to the billable hours. So make sure everything's laid out on the table. You can explain to them that you found 3 possible more generations, but I don't have enough time in our contract, go back to the contract, to prove if these are accurate links. And most of the time, if they are really excited, they will give you a second contract to continue the work, and then your credibility will not be damaged. Problem 5. Your contract with a client comprises 20 hours of research. It is now 2 weeks after the date when the project was to be completed and the reports delivered. You have not yet begun the project, nor have the client. You contacted the client. What will you do? What should you have done prior to this date? So, hindsight's 2020. After you went a week into the project and had not started it, you might want to contact the client and extend the dates in the contract and see if that is okay with them. If not, then you'll have to respectfully decline that and tell them that you're not able to complete the project, which will hinder your credibility as a genealogist. Now, if say we are in that situation, it's better to be upfront and tell them that you got stuck on other projects and that their project did not get completed, and apologize profusely for what you have done. Problem 6. You want a copy of your great grandmother's obituary that was printed in the newspaper and added to your family history publications. What will you do? You can copy this. This is public domain information. Obituaries and things is not copyrighted. You're allowed to use them. Problem 7. Your aunt suddenly becomes interested in your family history work a year ago and requests a copy of your genealogical database. You shared your data with her, and then you find out that she has shared that data on a commercial website which has published all the work on the internet. Your database included personal information about living people. What will you do now? What might have you done before? So, what you can do now is fix the problem. You can go to that company and ask them to remove the information out of their database because it is personal information that was not to be shared. And to prevent that happening again, there are a lot of great products out there that will take out personal information of living people. So you make sure you want to scrub your database before you share it with anybody. So this is part 2 of the prop of the assignment. Part 2 is in this part. Oh, I accidentally copied that. So here are the questions. How will you make certain that you will not violate copyright laws or plagiarize? If you give credit where credit is due, that is the best thing. Do not take other people's work for what you have done. Just cite your sources as much as you can and give the credit to those who deserve it, and you will be safe. The second is, how will you make certain that you will not violate clients' rights or privacy? Remember, personal information is very private, and do not use any personal information without the permission of the person. How will you handle topics that are sensitive to the client? It is very important that you do not share information that will ruffle people's feathers who are living. If they are dead, you can carefully tell the client the sensitive information in a way that is not going to hurt them. You want them to be happy, but they need to be aware, and you can warn your clients that in the past you have previously uncovered some things about their ancestors that were not the best, and warn them before you start. And that way, when you do come and say, hey, I found some sensitive information, they have been prepared. The next is, how will you deal with other genealogists who you believe are unethical? You need to work with the group of genealogical people throughout and make sure that everyone you work with is ethical. And that if you do find someone who's unethical, report it. What will be your policy for communicating with clients about fees and services, your deadlines, and your reporting schedule? So everything needs to be upfront. The fees need to be clearly laid out of what the services you provide, and the deadlines need to be met. And if they are not met, there has to be things put in place, as well as your reporting schedule. You need to create a contract that you and your client will sign that makes them and you liable for the service. And they will be willing to pay if you are willing to deliver. The next question is, how will you handle the situation where you cannot accomplish what you agreed with the client to do? There, you need to be aware of that contract you made with them and try to accomplish as much as you can of your bargain. And in the contract, there can be clauses that will hurt you, as if also a deduction in pay, discounts, as well as other things that will give you incentive to get the thing done. And if you do not accomplish what you had agreed upon, you need to tell the client and be upfront with them. Do not hide anything under the table.